where brave men and women gave voice to the voiceless. But then the corporations bought the journalist, poisoning the news that we are fed. With those tainted sources, all we ever ate was a steady diet of status quo. This hijacked narrative is the truth of mass suffering, injustice and corruption throughout our land. Status quo, status quo, status quo, status quo. To expose this shift to oligarchy came a band of honest journalists. They left the studio and hit the streets to give the microphone back to the people. From sea to sea, the people were empowered to share their truth. Their voices no longer stifled, reclaimed their power. Join the media revolution now.
Hey there, Jordan Sheridan live on a Sunday, November 24th, 2019. Oh, so much to discuss. A little bit late. Sorry about that, but we are in for a very, very special Sunday marathon. Today, I am wearing what I think is a very appropriate shirt for the topics at hand. I apologize in advance. I don't know who actually sent me this shirt. I got it yesterday along with a beep Jeff Bezos shirt. So thank you to whoever sent me these two shirts, the MSDNC shirt and the beep Jeff Bezos shirt. I will wear that on another show. If you're watching, please let us know in the super chat. This is a super chat that you sent it, or email us at info@statuscoup.com so we can give you the proper shout out. I don't know who sent it to me. So love this shirt. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. And I will wear it proudly as I talk about, we talk a lot about the media and the corporate media and the propaganda, but I think it's reached an entirely different level that we're going to have to talk about today. Just quick public service announcement. For those of you who were watching the other day, I'm waiting for, I'm basically going to set up a new router and hardwire tomorrow here. So right now I'm on Wi-Fi. I'm hoping it stays solid. Right now it is, knock on wood. But tomorrow I will have a much better setup with not wireless, wired connection. I'm just waiting for someone to come and hook that up for me. So right now it is, the internet's fine. Let's hope it stays that way. We got 200 people watching, so you know the drill. We need every one of you to press that like button so we could get more people watching. A viewer sent me a really, really nasty email the other day. And they don't like that I beg for likes, the viewer said. So I explained to the viewer, I don't mind constructive criticism, but I do mind these tedious emails. I explained that I'm not asking you to like the live stream because I'm bored. I'm not asking you to like the live stream because I feel unliked or an outcast in society and just want some likes for my ego. I'm asking you to press that like button right under the video because for whatever reason, YouTube's algorithm, they're already suppressing us, but if more people, the more likes you get on the live stream or a video, the more YouTube's algorithm recognizes the video and then pumps it into people's feeds. That's why we're asking you to like the live stream. He was like, Sam Cedar doesn't beg for likes. Yeah, well, Sam Cedar has been around probably a decade longer than Status Coup. Sam Cedar had the luxury of building his channel before YouTube suppression was a thing. So, yeah, other people might not be begging for likes. Unfortunately, we have to. So if you don't like it, go away. So press the like button. We're going to talk about membership too. The screen is going to go black because we have to update that. We are now actually at 742. members. Our goal for the end of the year is 1,000, so we got a lot of work to do. Hopefully today, let's get that number. Maybe we can get it up to like 760. It's $5 a month. And tomorrow, we rescheduled this call. Tomorrow, we're having our monthly members call. So we really hope you'll join us for that. It is Jen and I tomorrow night, our monthly members call. So if you're a Status Coup member, you will get the link to our members call for tomorrow night. Always a good time. We answer your questions, comments, concerns. We might have a little information for you tomorrow just for members that I know a lot of you want. So sign up today, statuscoup.com/join. Jen is in the super chat, so she'll be dropping in the links. And I will definitely answer your super chats as best as I can. And one more PSA. We at Status Coup, we want to take down capitalism, but as of right now, we got to play by the rules. So we are joining the Black Friday hoo-ha-ha, and Status Coup, everything in our store, 20% off, starting right now. So starting right now, everything, including this sweet Status Coup hoodie, is 20% off for Black Friday. So if you want to support Status Coup and look swag, if you want to support Status Coup and look fly, go to Status Coup's store. If you don't know, we do have a store. All you got to do, go to statuscoup.com and click on store at the top, and that will redirect you to our store. We got plenty of great things. We got, plenty of stuff for colder weather. Also plenty of stuff if you're in a warmer weather area now. So click on Status Coup store and enter the Black Friday. Coup Friday. Enter that promo code and you'll get 20% off anything in our store. So we really hope to be seeing people. I got my hoodie coming. We just ordered me a hoodie, and hope more of you will be rocking that hoodie and other stuff in the store. Again, now till Saturday, 20% off. So let's get right into it. Boy, MSNBC is really, it's not just MSDNC. It's MS. I don't know. Is it MS neoliberal? I'm trying to think of something cunning to say. It's beyond MSDNC at this point. MSNBC is literally taking the talking points of Adam Schiff, Nancy Pelosi, Hillary Clinton. Oh, yes, we are live on Twitch right now, too. We're live on Periscope right now, too, so we're dropping in the links. Yes, you can if you want to support us. There's the PayPal link. A lot of stuff going on. And this is a super chat. MSNBC is literally an arm of not just the corporate Democratic Party, but essentially the RussiaGate hysteria complex. And now that, according to Real Clear Politics, which again, as Status Coup has been covering for a while now, we take the polls. A lot of these polls we take with a grain of salt. A lot of these polls, the sampling is too low. They oversample older voters. They undersample younger voters. But Bernie's surge, he is now back in on Real Clear Politics average of polls, back in second. You got Biden, according to Real Clear Politics, average of all the national polls, up by 10. Bernie in second. Warren in third. Buttigieg in a distant fourth. You got Bernie right in there. This is Iowa. Again, I take Iowa of all the early states. I take these polls with a grain of salt. There is I think, significant Bernie vote that is not showing up in these polls. You have in the Real Clear Politics average of polls, Buttigieg 23.5, Warren 17.8, Sanders 17.0, Biden 17.0. So basically, essentially, Warren, Sanders, Biden tied tied for second at 17. Warren's at 17.8, Sanders 17.0, Biden 17.0, Buttigieg at 23.5. I don't believe Buttigieg is at 23.5 in an average of the polls, but Bernie's right there in Iowa. Then you have New Hampshire, average of polls, Warren 20, Biden 19, Buttigieg 18.7. They have Bernie at 14.3. I kind of find it hard to believe that Bernie's at 14.3. Again, a lot of these New Hampshire polls that Real Clear Politics is averaging is essentially 250 to 300 people, and mostly people over the age of 50. But I would say it's closer to Bernie at 17, 18 in New Hampshire. You have Nevada, again, grain of salt, 29.0 for Biden, Warren at 20, Sanders 19.8, Buttigieg 7.3, and California, Biden 25.3, Warren 23.0, Sanders 19.3. So why I list the average of the polls is I truly believe that it's essentially right now a toss-up in most of these states. I think in Iowa right now, if the Iowa caucus was held today, I do not believe whoever became the winner would win by more than 2 points. I think it's going to be that close in Iowa. New Hampshire, if it were held today, I have a hard time believing whoever wins would win by more than 2 to 3 points. South Carolina, I think Joe Biden will win South Carolina. I mean, it is what it is. Older black people support Joe Biden. I think if Joe Biden loses Iowa and New Hampshire, that support might go down. I still think he would win South Carolina, barring a complete meltdown. But I think Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada, and California are essentially toss-ups right now. I really do. And I think that because of that, MSNBC is going out of its way to throw anything at the wall to see what sticks. They obviously, in the last debate, you had them essentially, as I reported this week, covering for Warren. They pretended that she didn't just moonwalk away from Medicare for All. They didn't even bring it up. Buttigieg, they didn't lay a glove on Buttigieg. I think that Bernie, they didn't call on that much. And when they did call on Bernie, it was for questions that didn't really make sense. Andrew Yang, who isn't my cup of tea, they clearly, I think it took them a half hour to call on Andrew Yang. I also think, when you look at reality, they were calling on Amy Klobuchar, Tom Steyer, Booker, who are all polling lower than Andrew Yang, way more than him. So MSNBC, essentially, through Maddow and the other moderators, are trying to basically resuscitate or give some type of life, whatever that machine is, to save some of these struggling campaigns. And now, in, again, any way possible to defeat Bernie Sanders. Obviously, it's been a campaign against Tulsi Gabbard. Now, they're enlisting Joy Reid. Joy Reid, who, it's just because it's MSNBC. She lied 1 year ago. She said her blog was hacked or something like that. And she didn't write those homophobic, nasty things. Now they're enlisting Joy Reid and Rachel Maddow is next to resuscitate RussiaGate. And yes, we did just send out a text alert. For this live stream. So definitely check that out. Join our text alert system by texting 474747 and then write Coup to 474747. That's how you get on our text alert system. We definitely want to grow our text base. We're sending out text alerts, not often because it's really expensive, actually, to have this. But we're doing this because obviously YouTube is suppressing the hell out of us. So if you don't get a notification on YouTube, we're hoping that you'll get the text alert and then tune in. So we're trying a lot of different things. Definitely support us by joining our text alert system. We are not the CIA. We cannot spy on you. And we will not spam you or steal your data or anything like that. We just want to let you know we're alive and when we're live. So join our text alert. Type in 474747. So as if you were going to text a brand new number, 474747, and then in the text, type Coup. That will get you to join us. So MSDNC, as you can tell by the shirt, what are they going to do? Bernie, his crowds, as you see, are through the roof. Bernie, I mean, he's going up in the national polls. He's been going up in Iowa polls. A new Emerson poll this week had him tied with Joe Biden in the lead. That Emerson poll also had Bernie Sanders as the only candidate head-to-head defeating Donald Trump. Slim margin by 2, I believe it was. But Joe Biden was losing to Donald Trump. Elizabeth Warren was losing to Donald Trump. So what are they going to do? Joy Reid. Joy Reid. But before I do that, I just want to give a shout out. In addition to the MSDNC shirt I got, a wonderful viewer made me a status coup hat for the winter. So there you got the status and the coup. Coup for the winter. So let me read you her handwritten note. Dear Jordan, last winter you were at a Bernie rally in the cold with no cap on. You had a cold coming on, which your new indoor, your next indoor broadcast. So I thought I'd knit you a special status coup hat. I hope you like, and I hope it fits. From your Central Florida granny, Annalise. I won't say her last name in case she didn't want me to. But Annalise, thank you so much. Knitting me a hat is amazing. And I am going to wear this throughout the winter. So thank you, Annalise, for the wonderful, wonderful hat. I'm going to take it off now, but I am going to wear that throughout the winter. And thank you for the kind letter and making that effort to make me a hat. So for the 400 people watching right now, and remember, press the like button. We got 400 people watching, 241 likes. Make sure this is a super chat, so let us know. Let us know in the super chat how you're feeling. I hope you're on a full stomach. For those in the Pacific Coast watching, it's almost 10 o'clock there. Want to make sure you've had breakfast because this might make you a little nauseous. Let's take a look at Joy Reid and her alternate reality that aired yesterday on MSDNC.
As a perceived US threat to Russian interests. Right now, Russia's security services and their proxies have geared up to repeat their interference in the 2020 election. We are running out of time to stop them.
Witnesses at this week's impeachment hearing sounded the alarm about the threat of Russian interference in the 2020 election. And new data from the Foreign Policy Research Institute shows that Russia has already chosen its favorite and least favorite Democratic candidates. After analyzing more than 1,700 stories from Russian state media outlets, researchers found that Tulsi Gabbard, not so surprisingly, received the most favorable mentions among the 2020 field. And joining me now is Clint Watts, former FBI agent and research fellow, and he's the research fellow responsible for the report. So, Clint, we were just talking a little bit about it in the break. So Tulsi is getting the most positive focus. Yeah, out of all the mentions that we've looked at, she doesn't receive an overwhelming amount, but what she does is far more positive than what we've seen of the other candidates. And what are the mentions like? Like, talking about her in what way? Mostly in terms of her rhetoric that she says about the U.S. government, its war stance, that it is aggressive or imperialist. That's sort of the nature of it. That the U.S. should stay out of places like Syria, which matches what Russia wants. That Russia does not want the U.S. in Syria anymore. And that really we should withdraw from the world, which is a message that Russia wants Americans saying to Americans. So it's a great opportunity for them. Yeah, she uses the term regime change wars a lot, which is a common term, in my understanding, of the way that Russia talks about the United States. If you listen to that rhetoric, you would think that the U.S. started a war in Syria, which did not happen. That was part of the Arab Spring. If you remember, if we rewind all of this, that war has been going on for so long now that was part of the Tunisian, Libyan, Egyptian, Syria, Yemen. There are many uprisings that happened during that time. The U.S. didn't start those. So now let's talk about the person who gets the most negative mentions, and that is Joe Biden. Yes. And give me the nature of that. So there's two things to look at with that chart that you put up there. The first thing is just the total number of mentions. So Biden is 5 or 6 times more than like a Gabbard or most of the rest of the field. Right. And those are much more negative. So I always tell people when they look at that chart, most of what RT or Sputnik does is very much like U.S. news, right? Yeah. About 70% is going to be neutral. So I look to see, okay, when do they move off that neutral 70% and change? When do the percentages start to change? And that's what sticks out with Biden. Overwhelmingly negative,
lots of content about Biden, even when he wasn't really doing that well. And I would probably tell you, proportionally to what you'd see on U.S. news, they talk about him more. The Russians don't waste time in their overt news talking about candidates they don't care about.
Yeah.
So it's really fascinating to me as Elizabeth Warren. They hardly mentioned her for months, and only in the recent past couple months have they started to talk about her. And surprisingly, it's been more negative than I would have expected it to.
Well, because if she were to defeat Donald Trump, that would defeat their interests, right? Their interest is Donald Trump being president.
That's where there's been some weirdness when you watch her over media, because they speak of her as if sometimes she's like part of Hillary Clinton, right? And you go, well, if you're in the United States, it doesn't quite make sense.
Yeah.
And you'll see that pop up sometimes even in the social media feeds out of this.
If that wasn't enough for you, that was only part one. I got one more part to play, but I wanted to address this part. So, what's so interesting to me about this is basically what MSNBC is doing is trying to create a narrative that's different from what's actually happening in the country right now. I'm not saying that Russia has no interest in our election. I'm not saying that Russia doesn't push propaganda online, on Facebook, on YouTube, on wherever. I'm not saying that Russia isn't going to try and, quote unquote, sow discord in the 2020 election. No, not dissimilar than the United States does in other countries. What MSNBC is trying to do is they're trying to take that reality that Russia, a foreign country, who, by the way, we have built up the war machine against Russia since the Cold War and have basically tried to reignite the Cold War in recent years. They're trying to make it seem that Russia trying to influence the election, keep Trump, is the deciding factor in whether, like, a Bernie Sanders rises or a Joe Biden loses. Because that's a much easier narrative. It's a much easier narrative than the narrative that is clear and obvious, like what Michael Moore said on MSNBC this week. I wanted to play this clip with Michael Moore and kind of juxtapose what Michael Moore is saying on MSNBC, which, by the way, as soon as he was saying it, they tried to cut him off, with the narrative coming from the Joy Reids, and I'm sure Rachel Maddow is going to jump on the bandwagon too very soon, that, oh, Russia is trying to prop up Tulsi, trying to prop up Bernie, really trying to knock down Biden, and that's what we really need to be afraid of. It's not like on their own Tulsi has support. It's not like on their own Bernie has a giant movement. It's not like on their own the pretty much near majority of the country is just sick of the status quo. Thank you, Lawrence Johnson. $10 in the super chat. No more Joy Reid, please. So I want to play you some of this clip from Michael Moore, because I think this is what MSNBC is trying to essentially counter-program. Let's take a look.
If we keep supporting, like I was listening earlier, and I have so much respect for Senator McCaskill here, and everyone cried when you were not returned last year.
Well, my husband's a Michigander, so we think you're pretty cool too.
Okay, well that's even. But I want to redefine in the way that last time I was here, we talk about the working class, and I said the majority of the working class actually are women. People of color and young people are paid the least. So when we say working class, we're always evoking this image of Lunch Bucket Joe from Macomb County. The actual working class of 2019 is a 30-year-old black woman. That's really the working class. And when you say working class, I want everybody to always think now that's a 30-year-old black woman, because that is what the working class is. Just in the same way, I think that we have to, when you guys were talking about how we have to be more moderate or move to the center, that's how we're going to win next year. See, to me, I think moving to the center, I am the center. I am the mainstream now of the Democratic Party. The majority of Americans agree with me and Bernie on all the issues, whether it's health care for all, whether it's climate change, minimum wage, mass incarceration, go down the whole list. The American people have moved left So the center is now more of these sorts of things. This is what we believe. So when you say that, like, for instance, with Joe Biden said tonight, 160 million Americans want to keep their private insurance. Says who? Are you actually talking to people about this? Yes, they want the assurance that whatever we have with the new Medicare for All is essentially just a transfer from what they have with their good union health care. It's going to be that, but it's going to be better for you. You're not going to have co-pays and deductibles. Fine. But what the average Democrat and the average American does not like the health insurance company. They hate Aetna and Cigna and United Healthcare. These are people that they're fighting with to get them to pay a bill that they won't pay. The healthcare industry has caused more pain and harm and anxiety for the American people than practically any other industry. And we should never side with candidates that are going to say we're going to keep this private profit-making thing going. That's not where the American people are at. They are fed up with this. And I'll tell you, I got an earful of it back home in Flint last month when General Motors was on strike.
Yep.
What did the CEO of GM do on the third day of the strike? She took away their health care. She shut it down. They couldn't believe it. Nobody, I come from a GM family. GM, your health care, a UAW employee,
sure,
it's everything, medical, dental, eye care. You even get a free lawyer if you need one. It's the best. And on the third day, they saw the thing that they thought they'd have forever could be taken away by the company like that. And that's what people need to know, that we can never allow our health insurance to be in the hands of a private profit-making company where they can end you tomorrow. Anybody watching the show right now, your boss could wake up in the morning and go,
the great Michael Moore on MSNBC. By the way, Michael, if you're watching, feel free to return our calls on Flint. Just saying. Love you anyway, but, throw us a bone here, Michael. Throw us a bone. So, and thank you for the super chats. Kawhi, LPS, YouTube star, $1.99. Tony DeMio, $1.99. Love the work you do. More boggles my mind. So, why I wanted to play that is, first of all due respect, Michael, I don't know many people that were shedding a tear that Claire McCaskill lost in the Senate. And this is the point. Why does MSNBC and CNN parade on air loser after loser after loser who lost in the Senate? Claire McCaskill lost in the Senate running as the centrist moderate. And she lost. So why do we, the American people, why do you, the viewer, need to keep being lectured by very wealthy losers? And I don't say losers like, oh, what a loser. I mean people who lose elections over and over again. Why do we need to be told what the candidate needs to do to win? Why don't we go and ask people who actually won something what candidates need to do? I don't want to hear from Claire McCaskill what the Democratic nominee has to do. Because, by the way, this is who Elizabeth Warren is listening to, the Claire McCaskills of the world. And that's why she is, as I pick my nose, that's why she is sprinting as far to the center as possible. So I don't care what Claire McCaskill has to say. I care what the people on the ground listening and speaking with the people like Michael Moore care and hear. So I'm surprised, credit to MSNBC for allowing him to speak that long and allowing him to speak that truth. Because that is the truth. Michael Moore and us, we are the center. We are where the American people are. Claire McCaskill, Joy Reid, Rachel Maddow, Chris Matthews, who I got some clips from him, they are the right wing now. They are the right wing. So, what's amazing to me is instead of actually, if MSNBC was smart, if MSNBC actually wanted more viewers, they would actually, what was their slogan many years ago? Lean forward. They would embrace the big progressive explosion going on around the country. They'd have Bernie supporters on. Sure, you want to have Warren supporters on, fine. They would have union workers. They would have people striking on. They would have poor people. They would have women on, people of color, whether it be auto workers, even coal workers, workers on, because that's where the energy is. But what MSNBC is doing is essentially trying to erase reality, which is not what a news networks are supposed to show the audience what is reality, what is happening on the ground. And they're doing that through, now they're trying to reignite the Russian boogeyman. Again, whether Russia is trying to influence the election, which they probably are, that's not the point. What MSNBC is trying to do, they're trying to make it seem like the reason that Tulsi Gabbard has support is because of Russia. Like somehow it's inflated because of Russia. When anyone who knows, I mean, I've criticized Tulsi Gabbard. She's not my number one candidate. There's some things that I find troubling with her. However, nobody could argue that she has a huge base of support having nothing to do with Russia. Nobody could argue that Bernie Sanders, dating back to 2016, even before that, has a massive movement behind him, more than any other candidate. But what MSNBC is trying to do now is essentially put out propaganda that, oh no, it's Russia again. That's why Joe Biden isn't catching on. That's why Joe Biden is shrinking in the polls. And all you got to do is look at the next part of that Joy Reid interview.
So just to put you back in your FBI hat again, if you think about 2016, you think about now. From my outside looking in, perspective, it appears that the Tulsi Gabbard, Joe Biden sort of dichotomy sounds very similar to the either Bernie Sanders or Jill Stein versus Hillary Clinton dichotomy. It feels like the Russians are running the same game, only now Biden is Hillary and Tulsi Gabbard is Jill Stein/Sanders.
Right. So it's slightly different in 2020 only because President Trump is the incumbent this time. So for them, it's secure the base, split the opposition, just like a political campaign. And so from Putin's perspective, sure, he would love to see Trump in there. And to get that outcome, well, you go against the biggest challengers, to Trump, and you try and prop up people that are divisive or splitting the opposition on the Democratic side. So this would be populist candidates on the political left. With that, though, interestingly, one of our next posts will be about President Trump and how they talk about him. And so the theory that kind of is repeated in the press, which isn't always true, is that, yeah, they are pro-candidate Trump, but they're not always pro-President Trump.
They mock him.
They mock him. Yeah. So it's interesting to watch in their media. On the same day, they'll say, well, President Trump is kind of the greatest candidate ever, but we don't like what he's doing in Syria or Ukraine. It's not as straightforward as people might think.
Yeah, I don't think it's respect for Trump that's driving Russia. I think he's useful. I want to talk a little bit about the Kamala Harris as well, because one of the key ways that Russia attacked the last election was by trying to induce progressive, younger African-American voters to not vote, to stand down on Donald Trump. There seems to be a really a concerted effort to paint Harris as a villain to African-Americans. Is that still happening?
Yeah, so what's interesting from Russia's perspective, I think they're more concerned with Harris as a member of the Senate Intelligence Committee, which is a part of the Russia investigation, right? And that's where her name will pop up, even in the past if you go into their media. But more interesting is really how they will always continue to play on race, ethnicity, religion, socioeconomic status as a driver, as a wedge. And so what you look at with the sort of populist bent, whether it was 2016 or 2020, they're going to try and help drive those wedges. The difference in 2020, both politically and socially, is that the Russians really don't have to create anything at this point. Americans are doing all the work for them. They're not creating any of these wedges at this point. What I can say, having watched this 2 different times, is what could Russia do to America that America isn't doing to itself? And they mostly just repurpose our content now and send it back to us.
And just send it right back to us. Clint Watts, great to talk to you. Thank you very much for keeping track of all this stuff. More AM Joy after the break.
Both politically and socially, is that the Russians really don't.
I just can't with these people. So what was funny to me was Joy Reid said, it's almost like Joe Biden is Hillary. So like in terms of the Russians, it's just moving chess pieces. So the Russian game that they're playing, it was Hillary in 2016. Now it's Joe Biden replacing Hillary. And it was Bernie and Jill Stein in 2016. And now Russia's game, they're making it Tulsi. Replace Russia with the Democratic Party. Because it's not Russia inserting these pieces and making and pushing a game of the same old figures. The Democratic Party, in their infinite wisdom and corruption, have replaced Hillary Clinton with Joe Biden, thinking that's going to be the winner. And the Democratic Party is replacing their propaganda against Bernie Sanders and Jill Stein with Tulsi Gabbard. In MSNBC's world, it's Russia has this almighty power to they're propping up Bernie Sanders and Tulsi Gabbard and bringing down Joe Biden. It's comical at this point. I would argue, again, I'm not saying Russia isn't trying things. I'm not saying it's a good thing when foreign countries push fake Facebook pages and propaganda. We do it also, so let's stop the nonsense that we are so democratic and sanctimonious, and holier than now. We do this in country after country. Digital media interference. The Pentagon is doing propaganda on Twitter. On you. The Pentagon, if you've read about this in previous months, has been putting out propaganda through social media. So we're supposed to believe from Joy Reid that the reason Tulsi is excelling, the reason she's been in 4 out of 5 debates, the reason she has all this support, is qualifying in the polls, is qualifying via donations, is because the Russians are at it again. Thank you, Osama Kassem, $20 in the super chat. So the U.S., who armed rebels, Timber Sycamore, never had the authorization to be in Syria and are occupying their oil fields somehow, is a Russian plot. Harris is bad because of her bad policies. McCarthy 2.0 is alive and well. I got to agree. I agree. And by the way, she added in at the end of that Russia had this very strong influence in keeping African Americans, younger African Americans, from voting. It had nothing to do that Hillary Clinton called black people super predators, maybe. Had nothing to do with Hillary Clinton's husband created mass incarceration in this country by signing the crime bill. Granted, Hillary Clinton wasn't a politician. It's not her fault what her husband did, but she supported it as First Lady, the crime bill. That had nothing to do with young black people not voting for Hillary Clinton and staying home. It was Russia. By the way, how I know this is ridiculous is they were saying that Russia influenced people to go to Standing Rock. As somebody who was at Standing Rock, freezing my ass off for 6 months on and off, I promise you, Russia had nothing to do with at one point, 15,000 people were in Cannonball, North Dakota. Russia had nothing to do with it. They were trying to make it seem like Russia is somehow playing a hand in Black Lives Matter and igniting people to protest for Black Lives Matter against police brutality. It's just insane. And honestly, I have people in my life who I love very much, who I think are great people, who watch a lot of MSNBC and truly believe this stuff. That Russia swung the election to Hillary Clinton. That Russia is this almighty figure that has the power to just brainwash tens of millions of people to vote the way Russia wants. That it has nothing to do, they don't take into account NAFTA. They don't take into account all the closed down plants in the Midwest, all the closed down youth centers, all the closed down businesses and storefronts. I've been in parts of Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, Illinois that literally look like episodes of The Walking Dead. There's no life in some of these downtown areas. Closed, boarded up stores that have been boarded up for a decade. But we're supposed to believe it's Russia? Thank you, Kirk DeGrand, $14.99 in the super chat. I'm black and Joy Reid doesn't represent what we need. Had to get that off my chest. Keep up the good work, Jordan. Thank you so much for the super chat. And by the way, for the 600 people watching, make sure, if you have not pressed that thumbs up button, it's the thumbs up button right under the video. The more people that press that thumbs up button, the more people that will see this live stream. We want as many people to see the live stream, so press that thumbs up button right under the video. It makes a big, big difference. And if you came to this late, just letting you know, Status Coup is getting in on Black Friday action. So you can get a Status Coup hoodie and other great things from our store at 20% off starting right now. We have a sale going today through next Saturday. Type in Coup Friday when you get promo code. You'll get 20% off all items in our store, including that Fly Status Coup hoodie. And all you got to do is go to statuscoup.com, and then you could click on our store to get all the items. We got stuff if you're living in warm weather, we got stuff for you. If you're living in colder weather, we got stuff for you. Everything in between. We love to see people wearing our swag, and we're doing 20% off starting today. So go check that out, and all you got to do is enter Coup Friday. That's Coup Friday. Makes a big difference. Help us out there. And as a reminder, right now we're at 742 Status Coup members. We would love to get that up as much as we can today. Maybe we could get to 760. And if you become a member today, you will be invited to our monthly members call tomorrow night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. For our members call with Jen and I, and you know the drill. You'll get a invite through Zoom to the members call. All you got to do is sign up. You can become a member, of course, for as low as $5 to $10 a month. This is how we're going to grow for the long term, and we will be in the field in the coming weeks, both Marcus and myself. So definitely sign up to support our in the field journalism. So it's just embarrassing, and you know what? Honestly, if you want to talk about what actually is affecting our democracy, if you want to talk about what actually sways elections, I got news for you folks. What MSNBC and CNN are doing has way more impact in terms of brainwashing people and how they vote than fake pages on Facebook, whatever ads Russia puts on Facebook or Twitter or whatever. MSNBC is a 24/7 super PAC for the corporate Democratic establishment. I've never seen anything like it. When I worked at MSNBC, it wasn't even as bad as this. It has really kicked up in the last few years in this new McCarthyism that MSNBC is putting out there. And it's scary, and it's literally what is keeping old people in fear and blind. No offense, because obviously there's a lot of older viewers who watch Status Coup and are big Bernie people. Speaking of Bernie, big Bernie people. Hold on. Can smell Warren's fraudulence a mile away. Hold on. There we go. Now we have both. So we got, I guess, wait a minute. Which one's on the left? We want to make sure Bernie is on the right side here. So we want Bernie on the left. Is Bernie on the left or is Warren on the left on the screen? Oh no, we want, here we go. That's better. So obviously MSNBC is having more impact in keeping older voters essentially blind to what's right in front of them. The country has moved left. The Michael Moores of the world and us are the center now. And those older voters and what they're being fed on MSNBC is essentially right-wing propaganda. It's not quite Tea Party racist propaganda, but it's certainly corporate-sponsored propaganda, what MSNBC is feeding their viewers. And a lot of people are buying it, and that's why progressives aren't winning. That's why progressives overall aren't winning, because the older voters are being brainwashed by companies like MSNBC. It's got to stop. Thank you, Osama Kassem, $5 in the super chat. As Dave Chappelle said, I didn't know Russia created racism in America. Thank you. Thank you for the super chat. Mikey Kington, $5. Dude, sick shirt. Keep on keeping on. I will. Thank you for the shirt. Rob R, $1.99. Who says the former FBI guy speaks for all of Russia? Thank you. Kirk DeGran, $9.99. Could you do more stories on Wasserman Schultz? I'm here in Broward County, and you know every election on our county deals with foolishness. She has to go. Kirk, go check out the interview. Status Coup did the first interview with Debbie Wasserman Schultz's new primary opponent, Jen. Oh, what is her last name? Why am I blanking out? Hold on. Why am I blanking out? Jen Perelman is running against Debbie Wasserman Schultz down in Broward County. We interviewed her first, so you can go check out that interview we did. We also just did an interview that Debbie Wasserman Schultz literally sent police to Medea Benjamin of Code Pink's house. So we're trying to cover Debbie as much as we can. Obviously, we'll stay on it as news develops there. Thank you for the super chat. So in addition to the propaganda coming out from Joy Reid, MSNBC, again, I'm not like a huge Andrew Yang fan, but you got to respect he does have a very big supporter base behind him. He has raised a lot of small dollar donations from those supporters. He is outpolling Amy Klobuchar, Cory Booker, Julian Castro. A lot of those people on that, Tom Steyer. Most of the people on that debate stage, Andrew Yang has been outpolling, and MSNBC barely called on him during the last debate. On air, they have put polls up repeatedly showing, not putting Andrew Yang on screen, even though Andrew Yang is polling higher than many of the people MSNBC is showing on screen. That is, you want to talk about Russian disinformation? That is disinformation. I saw a poll where MSNBC put up, they had all the people polling high, and then towards the bottom, they had Beto O'Rourke at 1%. They just skipped Andrew Yang. So Andrew Yang, who, credit to him, usually a positive guy, just refused to go on. He refused to go on MSNBC this weekend. Let's take a look.
Way forward.
You are with us tonight, but I'd be remiss if I did not mention that you were also invited on MSNBC this weekend, and you turned down that invitation and instead took to Twitter to slam the network, a decision that could be seen as risky during a Democratic primary. We're showing one of those tweets here, which reads in part, was asked to appear on MSNBC this weekend and told them that I'd be happy to after they apologize on air. What exactly do you want an apology for?
Well, Anna, Americans tuned in to the debate earlier this week, and they saw that I got called on less than any other candidate, including candidates that I'm polling higher than. And the questions I did get had virtually nothing to do with the core ideas of my campaign. And if this were an isolated incident, that would be one thing. But if you go back over the last number of months, MSNBC has literally omitted me from over a dozen fundraising and polling graphics, which it's not about me. It's about the 300,000 plus Americans who've donated to and support my campaign, and the millions of Americans who know we need to rewrite the rules of the 21st century economy to work for us. Think about those people donating $10, $20 of their hard-earned money to put a candidate on the stage and then have MSNBC virtually ignore me for 32 minutes, or when they tune into MSNBC to see how we're doing in the polls, it's like I don't exist. And you can go through the records, you can see they've done it to me over and over again. And I'm not the kind of guy who takes offense easily, but at this point you have to call it like you see it.
Do you think there's a specific reason you're not getting the coverage you feel is fair on a network so popular with the left?
It's a bit of a mystery to me, Anna, and I hope that when they come clean and acknowledge that they have been suppressing and ignoring me and my campaign for months, maybe they'll actually share with us what the rationale is. All I know is that I'm fucking people. I'm here in Iowa. There are, I'm going to say hundreds. I actually lost track. Hundreds of Iowans right behind me, as you can see, who know we need to actually work on solving the problems that got Donald Trump elected. I have no idea why MSNBC does not want to have this conversation.
So far, there are 6 candidates who have qualified for the next Democratic debate in December, which will air here on CNN. You're not one of them.
So clearly, let me move Bernie a little more. Clearly, even Andrew Yang is fed up with this propaganda. And I don't blame him. By the way, Andrew Yang, I mean, you're on CNN. They haven't exactly been so kind to you either, but I digress. I mean, essentially, MSNBC has become a super PAC for the Democratic establishment. And when I say become, obviously they are pro corporate Democratic establishment. Look at who they have on screen constantly. But it's different. There's a difference between constantly parading corporate Democratic establishment people on screen and as a network actively pushing a narrative and a propaganda almost like you're a political operation. I'm not trying to do a false equivocation and say MSNBC is the same as Fox News. Obviously, Fox News is a racist, terrible enterprise. But it's not so much different in terms of the propaganda they're putting out right now. And it's dangerous for democracy. And this is what sows division. This is what is creating a brainwashing of people in this country. Thank you, Arlene, $2 in the super chat. So they're doing the RussiaGate stuff. They're suppressing Bernie. They're painting Tulsi as a Russian asset. They've done. They are obviously going after Bernie. And then you have Chris Matthews. Oh, Chris Matthews. I mean, where do you start with this idiot? And there's no other way to put it. I'm sorry if I'm being crass, but he's truly an idiot. An intentionally out of touch idiot. And what's funny about Chris Matthews is MSNBC has branded Chris Matthews as like understanding the average voter in Pennsylvania and, you know, one with the worker bee. Yet Chris Matthews thinks it's a little too strong.
I think the Democrats always miss the cultural piece. I think the Democrats always miss the cultural piece. They seem to be right on the economics, but they miss the cultural piece. And how people feel about things. The Democrats are very cold about those things, and I think they really miss a chance to win by simply identifying with the feelings of the country better than they do. And that's the only thought I have tonight. And I caught it again tonight with Bernie Sanders saying, the country's corrupt, our system's corrupt. Be careful about that language, Bernie. You know, be careful that our system of politics is corrupt. That's too strong. I'm sorry, it has corrupt aspects. But to say our democracy is corrupt is a bad starting point with a lot of people's hearts about this country. That's what I think.
Oh, God. Be careful, Bernie. Our sponsors are listening. Be careful. That's too strong. Bank of America is not going to like that language on this network, Bernie. ExxonMobil is not going to like that language. American Petroleum Institute is not going to like that language. Pfizer is not going to like that language. Raytheon is not going to like that language. Bob Woodward does not like that language, Bernie. This is very, very offensive to the image that our voters and our viewers have of the country. Be careful, Bernie. And that was followed up by this doozy.
Bloomberg has already begun an apology tour by saying he's not for a stop and frisk anymore, which is a big part of his New York mayor's experience and his record for better or worse. So he's making adjustments. The fact that Elizabeth Warren is pulling back on Medicare for all immediately is more of a long-term transition. She's adjusting. They're all adjusting to the Democratic Party as it is right now. And the Democratic Party right now, I believe, is an anti-Trump party. I can tell from our ratings, people would much rather watch the decline and fall of Donald Trump than watch the battle among these people. They're just more interested in watching Trump go down. They like these hearings. They like what they're learning about this president. They like the evidence piling up against him much more than they like following the horse race, which tells me they really, really have one passion going into next year's election: beat Trump. I think that's driving everything. I think it's driving the Buttigieg surge right now, but that's a February surge. It's not a November surge. Are they really making a decision about Buttigieg, or are they looking for a parking place to slow this thing down? I think they're slowing the whole process down. They want a winner. That's what they want. They don't want a chance in the world of losing to Trump again. I think that's the ideology of the Democratic Party. Center left, yes, but you must beat Trump.
So
I'm going to remove Bernie for a minute. Hope you're not offended. Let's focus on Elizabeth Warren. Sorry if most of her is cut off. It's either cut off my head or, we'll just pick her up. So, Chris Matthews, here we go. Chris Matthews, this guy is paid, by the way, I can't confirm this, but I believe around $5 or $6 million a year. So, you would think he kind of understands politics a little bit. So, Chris Matthews is saying that Michael Bloomberg, who, by the way, just formally announced he's running today, so get your Michael Bloomberg gear ready to go. Chris Matthews is saying, Michael Bloomberg is understanding where the Democratic Party is. He's adjusting. Elizabeth Warren, she's looking at where the Democratic Party and she's adjusting, meaning moonwalking away from Medicare for all. Interesting. So Chris Matthews is saying that Elizabeth Warren is adjusting because she's recognizing that the Democratic Party is not where that Bernie Sanders is. She's realizing that the Democratic Party is closer to where Chris Matthews and MSNBC is, so that's why she's adjusting. Then why Chris Matthews, and of course, nobody is on MSNBC to challenge this stupidity, why is it that since Elizabeth Warren has quote-unquote adjusted, meaning moved to the right, why is it that since she's adjusted and moonwalked away from Medicare for All, which your network covered up during the debate, they didn't ask her, when they asked her about Medicare for All, they didn't say, hey, are you still for Medicare for All since you're basically proposing a public option and you're going to quote-unquote then try to pass Medicare for All in year 3? I agree, Christopher. Let's call him softball. Why is it that as Elizabeth Warren is quote adjusting, her poll numbers are going down? Because she, according to Real Clear Politics, was in second place on the average of polls before she started moonwalking away from Medicare for All. Since she has moonwalked away from Medicare for All, her polling has gone down, both nationally and in Iowa and New Hampshire. So Chris Matthews, in his infinite wisdom, let me see if I could prop Warren up, just out of respect. I don't want to cut off her face. Yeah, darn it. All right, well, you get the point. There she is. Why is it that Chris Matthews, in his infinite wisdom, is saying almost like, oh, they're getting it. These candidates are getting it. They have to adjust and move to where the Democratic Party is. If that's the case, why are the numbers shrinking when they move, not where the Democratic Party is, let's call it what it is, when they move to the right? They are moving to the right. It's unbelievable. And by the way, excited to tell you, we just got a new Status Coup member. Welcome to the party. Status Coup member, what's your name? Alberto just joined us. So we are now at 743 paying monthly Status Coup members. Thank you. We would love to get new members today. First we got to get to 750, so that would be 7 more of you need to sign up. And then let's look towards 760. Our goal is to hit 1,000 by the end of the year. It's not going to be easy, but we're going to work on it. Sign up today, statuscoup.com/join. You can become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. And it makes a big difference, not just in funding for us. You also get some great perks, including our monthly members call, which happens to be tomorrow. So if you sign up as a member today, again, for $5 to $10 a month, you'll get the video link. It's not through YouTube, it's through Zoom, to join Jen and I tomorrow night. And for those of you in the Super Chat now who have joined us on the members call, let the people know. It's a lot of fun. We answer your questions, comments, concerns. I probably share way more information than Jen would like me to. Right now, Jen and I are working on a massive story. We're not going to give it away during the call, but, we'll give you as much as we can as far as what's going on behind the scenes. So join us today, statuscoup.com/join, and get the invite to our members call tomorrow. You get other good perks as a member as well. So statuscoup.com/join. Welcome to the party, Alberto. Again, that's how we're going to grow. Membership is key to how we grow. So, in addition to being wrong that Elizabeth Warren, quote unquote, adjusting is smart, because clearly it's not. She's declining in the polls based on her adjusting. Chris Matthews I mean, honestly, I don't care if I get demonetized. What a fucking moron. He is essentially saying that for the Democratic candidate to win, the Democratic candidate, it's not about the policies. It's just about who is anti-Trump enough. Who is the most anti-Trump and who presents themselves as the best bet to defeat Donald Trump. And Chris Matthews is gleaning that. Chris Matthews is gleaning that that is who's going to win the nomination because MSNBC is seeing a ratings increase for the hearings against Donald Trump. By the way, Donald Trump is corrupt. I agree with him. The impeachment, I think Donald Trump should be impeached. I disagree with some of my friends on the progressive left who say there's nothing to see here in these hearings, and I just don't agree. I mean, it's very clear. Bribery and quid pro quo, it usually doesn't work with like the person saying, here is your bribe, and spelling BRIBE. That's not how it works. I think there's like this semantic argument right now going on among people saying nothing to see here, that Trump never actually said quid pro quo or, this never said the words. That's not how bribes work. It's never articulated that it's a bribe. So I think Trump is corrupt. I think it's very important to beat him. But basically, Chris Matthews, from that wisdom he just shared on air, besides saying that Bernie is being too strong in calling the country corrupt, usually people who are corrupt and are down with corruption don't like the term corruption being thrown around. He's also saying that the way to beat Donald Trump is to run the same exact campaign that Hillary Clinton ran in 2016. Brilliant observation, Chris Matthews. So Hillary Clinton, I could tell you because I was there and I covered a lot of her rallies. I obviously covered a lot of Bernie rallies, a lot of Trump rallies. Hillary Clinton's campaign was essentially Trump is the Antichrist. Trump is a unique threat to the country. We've never seen anything like him, and now is not the time for perfection in a Democratic candidate. We need to come together to stop Trump. That was the Democratic Party's campaign. That's pretty much what I heard at the DNC last year, and that's pretty much what Hillary Clinton's campaign was. It was a lot of vague, opaque messaging about stronger together. Her economic message, as much as I could understand it, was essentially a continuation of Barack Obama. There was no like grand plan like a Medicare for all or a Green New Deal or anything that tangible that was going to lift workers. Thank you, Andy P. $5 in the super chat. Corruption is the key unifying issue. So what Chris Matthews is saying, I could tell from our viewers that the real winning recipe to taking out Trump is picking a candidate that's the most anti-Trump. Picking a candidate that could just beat Trump. So let's choose a candidate that's going to run the same campaign that Hillary Clinton ran. That's going to give us a different result. Progressive Martian just became a coup de commander and couldn't be happier. If your team ever needs a place to stay in Phoenix, it's yours. Thank you, Progressive Martian. Really appreciate it. You just became a coup de commander, which is the $20 a month per level. Thank you. We really appreciate you joining us. And I believe that would put us at 744, if I'm looking at it right. Thank you. And we, like I said, we want to get these member signups going. So keep signing up. And obviously, if you don't have an extra $5 to $10 a month, we get it. We don't want to make anybody's situation worse. But if you have an extra $5 to $10, I think supporting real, independent, in the field journalism is how you should spend that money. Because based on what I'm showing you today of MSNBC, we need independent, in the field journalists to counteract this propaganda. It's as simple as that. Simple as that. We need it. We need more funding, and we need more members. It's not only about the money. I mean, obviously we need funding to grow and to travel and to cover things. It's also about showing that you could create a sustainable independent media business without being reliant on corporate sponsors, without being reliant on YouTube advertising, because the channels that are reliant on YouTube advertising and revenue just end up decrying into clickbait nonsense. it's showing you could actually create an independent media business, also movement, through viewers. So that's why we're trying to grow. Again, you could sign up for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Makes a big difference. So what I want to get across as we button up this topic, I think that in 2016, unfortunately, there was, obviously there's a lot of anger and frustration on social media against MSNBC, CNN, but there wasn't really past social media anything. When I say that, I don't mean like we should take that anger out physically or violence towards anybody. Of course not. We're not talking about violence in any means. We don't condone that. But honestly, to me, what at this point would be the difference between organizing a protest outside BlackRock's headquarters, which we just covered a couple weeks ago, or organizing a protest outside, I don't know, Raytheon, or organizing a protest outside Bank of America or Goldman Sachs. The people that organize those protests do it because these are corporations that have unprecedented impacts in our lives, from the economy and the income inequality to the planetary destruction to the murder that's going on in this country in the for-profit health insurance industry. I'm here to say I think MSNBC has just as much influence as those other corporations. I don't think they have as much influence, let's say, as BlackRock. I mean, MSNBC doesn't have the influence of a BlackRock in terms of destroying the planet, but MSNBC is... People need to protest. I'm talking nonviolence. And by the way, I'm not talking about protesting, get out there for Bernie. I'm not talking about a protest on behalf of Bernie Sanders, because I think that is the quickest way for it to be ignored and diminished. I'm talking about there needs to be protests of these media networks who are clearly working on behalf of establishment candidates. And by the way, I would have no problem at all. I've always said this about Fox News, by the way. I would have no problem at all if Fox News just came out and said, yeah, we're a conservative network. We believe in the Republican Party's ideals. We have a Republican slant, but of course, we want to invite anyone on. But this is what we are. That's what you're getting. Truth in advertising. That's it. I would also have no problem if MSNBC just came out and said, yeah, we support the Democratic establishment. We believe in, moderate to pro-business policies, and that's what our content represents. But we welcome anybody on. But when networks like MSNBC and CNN present themselves as just neutral arbiters, this has much more impact in terms of disinformation, propaganda, and ultimately swaying elections than the Russian boogeyman. And I know there's people in my life that disagree. I know there's people in my life who I love that think, I'm underestimating the power of disinformation and social media propaganda and blah, blah, blah. To those people, as much as I love you, I say, not that everyone has the opportunity to do this, go travel the country and speak with people. I had the fortune of doing so in 2016. I've had the fortune in years since of traveling the country. Not as much recently as I would like. Obviously we're looking for funding. Again, that's why we're telling you sign up as a member. Currently, we're also interviewing people. We need a new camera person, so we're doing that. So we will be out in the field as soon as we hire a new camera person. Hold on. So, we just got another member. Nice. Welcome to Status Coup. Sylvia just signed up as a Status Coup member. We are now at 745 Status Coup members. Thank you, Sylvia. Can we get to 750 by the end of this hour? 5 new members. Again, sign up as a member. You're going to get the link to our video call. We're having our video call tomorrow night. For those of you that don't know what that means, very, very easily, 7:30 Eastern Time, 4:30 Pacific. Jen, myself, and all of you will be, it's through Zoom. It's a video call. You do not have to be on video if you don't want to be on camera. There's a button to mute your video, and you could just listen. You could also ask questions or talk without your video being on. So we will be on video. You don't have to be if you don't want to. But it's kind of a casual, fun, intimate, I would say, members call. We tell you like kind of the state of where we're at in status quo, some of the behind the scenes stuff, some of the business stuff. We have actually taken quite a lot of your ideas and executed them from the members call. So definitely sign up today to join us tomorrow night. You'll get a link via email if you're a member to the call. Status quo, you're an active journalist and you need action figures of yourselves. I don't need an action figure of myself. Tell people to email us if they can't afford membership but want to join the call. Okay. Jen just told me tell people to email us if they can't afford membership but want to join. Info@statusquo.com. That's info@statusquo.com. Email us. There you go. So, like I said, to button it up, I really think that people need to sign up. People need to start protesting these networks because it ain't going to change and it's only going to go worse. I think Bernie Sanders is running a strong campaign, but it's not just about Bernie Sanders. It's about, Cindy Nemo would love to sponsor 10 people at $5 a month. Cindy Nemo would love to sponsor 10 people at $5 a month for 2020. Hold on. Yes, Jen.
Scroll up on Signal and read the rest of what I said.
The Cindy Nemo thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, how did they do that?
Okay.
Okay. So Cindy Nemo would love to sponsor 10 people at $5 a month for 2020 as a gift to Status Quo. I'll send you that note in writing and you could sign me up. Wow. Thank you, Cindy. That is very, very helpful. Thank you very. So Cindy wants to sponsor 10 people at $5 a month for 2020 as a gift to Status Quo. So Cindy, email us at info@statusquo.com. And I don't know how to set that up, but I know Jen will do it. So thank you. Cindy, that's very, very kind of you. We really appreciate it. So last thing I'll say about MSNBC, it ain't going to change. It's only going to get worse. So I think people need to start figuring out how to ignite this. Because I promise you, if there's enough protest against MSNBC, if you shame Comcast, who owns MSNBC, you are threatening their business at that point. And they don't like their money being threatened. And even if it's minor changes to be a little bit more journalistically ethical, that would make a very big difference. So that is my recommendation. I think there needs to be protests. I think it needs to happen soon. Peaceful, but aggressive. Peaceful, but aggressive. So, before I move on to the next topic, I want to remind you what we're trying to do in December and beyond.
Brand new reaction coming in from Rudy Giuliani. And right now, President Trump's former top advisor on Russia.
More breaking news tonight on Rudy Giuliani.
Trump lawyer Rudy Giuliani is under criminal investigation.
President Trump is not going to cooperate.
The latest on impeachment.
Impeachment investigation.
President Trump.
President Trump. President Trump.
President Trump.
President Trump.
President Trump's
educational issues with the children that have been poisoned. We're at one of the encampments that homeless people are living at.
It's really discouraging to notice these similarities where you have the administration going, there's absolutely nothing wrong with your water, but here, take these filters.
Are you on Social Security?
I am, but I work a full-time business.
No, I know, but you're aware Social Security is a socialist program.
Well, that's beside the point.
So, I want to turn to our friend Elizabeth Warren a little bit. Sorry if you can't see her full body. So, Elizabeth Warren as I was just reporting, has been declining in the polls. Elizabeth Warren has been declining in the polls. And according to Chris Matthews, her moving away from Medicare for All, which she absolutely has done, her, what did he say? Making adjustments is what she needs to do. At the same time, Elizabeth Warren is, quote, making adjustments, meaning moonwalking away from Medicare for All, which I've been saying for months. I never thought she was that genuine about Medicare for All in the first place. Throughout her career, healthcare has never been a main issue she has pushed for. Her main thing is financial regulations, going after the banks, those kinds of things. MT Do Ramen, $2 in the super chat. Thank you very much. So now there's a narrative. Honestly, it seems, I don't want to say being pushed, but like being put out there, even by some progressives that I like, that Elizabeth Warren is running running a campaign as a movement. She's running a movement. And by the way, Henry, I don't want to forget you. I did receive your I don't remember what these are called. The only problem is I don't know how to work it. I don't know if it comes with an extra piece that I can't find, but I did get this from you, Henry, so thank you for sending. I just don't know how to work it, but I hope to figure it out. So what's unbelievable to me, even people I like are now pushing this thing that Elizabeth Warren is running her campaign in the spirit of movements. This is from The Intercept. In 3 touchstone speeches, Elizabeth Warren grounds her campaign in a history of American protest and movement building. And this is from Ryan Grimm, who I generally like. I don't have a problem with Ryan Grimm, but on this, I don't really get where there's evidence that Elizabeth Warren's campaign is a movement, or that Elizabeth Warren really understands movement politics, or that Elizabeth Warren, if elected, is going to try and take her electorate that elected her and carry it over as a movement the way Bernie Sanders is talking about. So I'm not going to read the piece, but this piece talks about how Elizabeth Warren in speeches has referenced the women's rights movement and the labor movement and all these things. But Elizabeth Warren is not running her campaign as a movement. Elizabeth Warren is running her campaign essentially as someone who's doing your general triangulation. Elizabeth Warren, what are you saying, Jen? Jordan, damn it, I don't know what did I do? I don't know. So what I want to know is, what is this BS narrative going out that Elizabeth Warren is running her campaign or in any way has connection to a movement? Elizabeth Warren has not been asked. She has not been asked one question about this. Elizabeth Warren was a corporate attorney for, I believe, 20 years. That's not exactly movement politics. Elizabeth Warren represented corporations trying to get them to have to pay less for asbestos contamination. Is that movement politics? Elizabeth Warren has represented corporations in trying to get them off of paying health care benefits to workers that were sick, that got sick on the job. I believe from coal was one of them. What exactly is, again, Ryan Grimm, who I like, I just don't understand why The Intercept or other progressives would be trying to make it seem like Elizabeth Warren is leveraging movements. She is not. What Elizabeth Warren is doing, to be very clear, is triangulating. She is throwing bones to the Democratic Party establishment. We know about the New York Times story weeks ago that she's going around having hot tea with a who's who of the Democratic Party establishment. We know from, I believe it was 2 or 3 months ago, that she's having private text messages and phone calls with Hillary Clinton. We know, I just reported it, that she's moonwalking away from Medicare for All. The only movement that I know Elizabeth Warren is embracing is sprinting to the center, i.e. moving to the right, which is why I think she's going to lose. And Zaid Jilani of Current Affairs put this really well on Twitter in a thread. it's interesting, Elizabeth Warren's messaging to the media is that she's grounding her campaign in historic movements, when over the course of her life, she wasn't part of any social protest movements. The anti-war movement, the climate movement, the feminist movement, the civil rights movement, anti-apartheid, all came and went during the course of Warren's life, and she didn't take part in any of those social actions. In her book, Warren even sort of apologizes for claiming credit for Occupy Wall Street. Quote, "I was deeply embarrassed. My words sounded so puffy and self-important, and they made it seem as if I was trying to take credit for a protest I wasn't even part of." It may be a pivot to try and broaden the base of her voters. Her first strategy was to brand herself around plans, which appeals to a different spectrum of voters than branding yourself around social protests, but she doesn't have the background to claim that mantle. To put it into perspective, Barack Obama, John Kerry, and Bill Clinton were all involved in social protest movements at one point or another, and none of them are dyed-in-the-wool hippies. I think Warren's campaign is just trying to rebrand itself a lot to broaden the base, which is what campaigns generally do. But this rebrand is weird, especially when a lifelong social activist, Bernie Sanders, is in the race. Can't just hope friendly bloggers force the frame. If I was her, I'd double down on how she switched parties from Republican to Democrat due to her academic work on bankruptcy. Be authentic. Stop trying so hard to be the liberal PMC candidate. I don't know what PMC stands for. That would make inroads. Right now, she's losing that war to Pete. One of the few things Trump and Sanders share is they just tell you what's on their mind and don't try to craft their personality around expectations. Warren's campaign at this point is trying way too hard in a number of dimensions, coming across as inauthentic. I couldn't agree more. And I want to be fair. I want to be fair for a second, because we have to be fair. So, Elizabeth Warren might have not been involved heavily in the civil rights movement or the feminist movement or any of those things. Based on her age, she also was she was a mother. She had children. She worked. She was a working mother. So not everyone has all the time in the world to go protest and be involved when you're a working parent, right? So I want to be fair that we can't say just because she wasn't out on the front lines like a Bernie Sanders that means she didn't support those movements. But what I do know is Elizabeth Warren voted for Ronald Reagan twice. She certainly wasn't out marching with the labor movement when Ronald Reagan began the decimation of labor unions in this country. I believe Elizabeth Warren was a Republican until the 1990s, right? So I know exactly what Zaid is talking about because Elizabeth Warren's campaign is the one pushing this narrative. Elizabeth Warren's campaign is the one pushing this narrative that she is a movement candidate, that she is running her campaign based on the movements of the past. And that's just not true. Elizabeth Warren's campaign treasurer is literally, his name is Paul Eagerman, and he is referenced in news reports as a personal PAC man because he is known for just flooding money into super PACs for corporate Democratic Party candidates. That's not exactly running a movement with that as your campaign treasurer. The New York Times Politico just reported this week that Elizabeth Warren's campaign, through Paul Eagerman, her treasurer, is flying out wealthy donors to her events. When the campaign was asked by Politico to comment on that, they did not have a comment. If you're not flying wealthy donors to your campaign events, you would think they'd say your information is wrong. So again, I'm a man. I'm not going to say Elizabeth Warren has not supported feminist movements. I'm not going to say she's, that's not appropriate for me to say those things. She deserves credit. Her work before she became a senator helped create the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. That is a huge accomplishment. I don't support her as the nominee, but you got to be fair and give her credit where it is deserved. She has in the 1990s and 2000s, she fought against Joe Biden. She tried to fight against that bankruptcy bill. I think there's a lot of good about Elizabeth Warren in the 1990s and the 2000s. And when she first ran for Senate in 2012, when she won, I think there's a lot of good there. But as she has grown into politics, as she has grown as a senator, she has started moving more and more towards the establishment of the party. So I just respectfully disagree with Ryan Grimm, who I like. Nothing against him. I just disagree here that Elizabeth Warren should be credited for like running her campaign in the shadows and in the spirit of the labor movements and the feminist movements. You could have a rally wherever the hell you want. I know in New York, she had a rally near a legendary workers' strike. But that doesn't mean on the day-to-day of your campaign, you're actually living what you're saying or living what you preach. So, Oh, hum in the kazoo. You hum into it? Hum, 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 hum. Oh! You know, next time, Henry, send me directions. I had no idea. This is exciting. Unbelievable. This is so exciting. I'm going to use that from now on. So, thank you, Henry. Colin, if you're watching, can we clip this out? We should put that on the Instagram. This does not come with directions. I had no idea. So, back to this. Anat, did you see that? So, my girlfriend couldn't figure it out either. But what is, to me, kind of, I don't mind, and I think Elizabeth Warren, listen, we got to be fair. We can't just be negative Nancy's on candidates we don't like. But let's not put out false narratives about Elizabeth Warren. If Elizabeth Warren comes out tomorrow and she says, dang it, I'm not taking corporate money in the general election. Dang it, I'm not raising 1 cent from corporate donors for the Democratic National Committee. No. They're on their own. Then I will be the first one to credit Elizabeth Warren. She's not my candidate. I don't want her to become the nominee. But at this point, the saying, when there's enough smoke, there's fire, there is so much smoke when it comes to Elizabeth Warren. She is not Bernard Sanders. And I don't think independent outlets or outlets like The Intercept, who I like, I think they do great work, but let's not pretend that Elizabeth Warren is some movement politician. She's not. And you want to know how I know she's not a movement politician? Because in 2016, when for the first time, frankly, other than Occupy Wall Street, for the first time, maybe since the 1960s and 70s, there was a progressive uprising in this country, a progressive movement behind Bernie Sanders in 2016. Elizabeth Warren was nowhere to be found. She was MIA. She chose not to endorse Bernie Sanders. She chose to sit that movement out because she wrongly calculated, I'm going to get into Hillary's administration. And by the way, whoever said I'll become a member if he figures out how to use it, I look forward to you joining. All of you who are not members yet, I look forward to you joining our membership call tomorrow night, but you got to sign up as a member first. So sign up, statuscoup.com/join. That's statuscoup.com/join. We're at 745. That's 745 Status Coup members now. You can become a member today for as low as a cup of coffee a month. And if you become a member today, you will get invited to our monthly members call tomorrow night, 7:30 Eastern Time, 4:30 Pacific. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow on the members call. So, am I wrong, folks? Should I not criticize The Intercept for this nonsense story? And by the way, it's not just The Intercept. Elizabeth Warren's campaign. A lot of these stories you see in the media, by the way, let me just explain how it works, are being fed, they're fed talking points from Warren's campaign. So when you see CNBC and Politico keep reporting the same story, just with a different headline. Wall Street scared silly of Elizabeth Warren. Wall Street more scared of Elizabeth Warren than Bernie Sanders. That's coming from Elizabeth Warren's campaign. It's being fed to lazy reporters who are then just regurgitating it. This is how it works, folks. This is the state of the American press. Oh, we just got 2 new Status Coup members. Welcome to the party. John is a Status Coup member. Charles just signed up. We're now at 747. 747 Status Coup members. Can I get to 750? Can I get to 750? Sign up. That's statuscoup.com/join. statuscoup.com/join. Become a member for as low as a cup of coffee a month. $5 a month. You could join the media revolution. It makes a huge difference. We got different plans, $5, $10, $20, and $179 annually if you'd rather do an annual membership than a monthly. Keep it coming, and you get to join us on the members call tomorrow, and you'll get other bonus content as a member. So, last thing I'll say about Warren, and this kind of ties back to MSNBC. Elizabeth Warren better thank her lucky stars that the debate was on MSNBC and the Washington Post, because she was able, because MSNBC basically just let her avoid and evade her moonwalking. Any reputable journalistic moderator would have asked her, Elizabeth Warren, Senator Warren, you months ago said, I'm with Bernie on Medicare for All. This past week, you basically moved away from Senator Sanders' Medicare for All plan, basically saying you are now going to lead with a public option, and then in your 3rd year, propose Medicare for All. How is that realistic? She was not asked that because they don't want it to be known that Elizabeth Warren, frankly, is Obama 2.0 or 3.0, however you want to phrase it. So Status Quo is going to keep calling it out. And like I said, just keeping it real, we will be going to New Hampshire soon. Just we're in the process now of getting a new camera person, but we will be in New Hampshire, and hopefully, I will be able to get up in front of the good senator and ask her a couple questions. I think the people want real questions, the tough questions that candidates should have to answer asked. And unfortunately, they're not going to be asked by the usual suspects at MSNBC. So, with that, and we're now at 747 members, so let's see if we could get up 750 and beyond. I gotta move on now to, oh boy, Mayor Pete Buttigieg, America's mayor, right? And Mayor Pete is really experiencing the benefit of corporate propaganda that is essentially free PR. They're not even paying for these puff pieces they're getting. And honestly, in a normal, healthy democracy, Mayor Pete probably would have had to drop out after a month because he would get no traction. He's not qualified to be president. I don't even think he's qualified to be governor of Indiana. He's done nothing as South Bend, Indiana mayor, but journalists don't want to point that out. And now, after a debate performance where he wasn't asked one challenging question, the media just propped him up like they've been doing. We remember, what was it, Vanity Fair who did the puff piece on Beto O'Rourke when he launched his campaign? I was born to do this, with their little advertisement for Beto. Now we have, The New York Times doing puff pieces with Mayor Pete. You know, oh, the Indiana mayor talks about his lifelong political ambitions were complicated by the secret he kept for decades. I don't want to be insensitive, folks. I don't want to make it seem like it's, you know, just nothing that Pete Buttigieg is the first serious gay candidate for president. I think that's a great thing. But don't you find it odd that essentially this is the only thing the media seems to focus on with Pete Buttigieg? The fact that he's gay? The fact that, you know, it was a brave thing for him to come out as gay? If this is the main thing that all of these puff pieces about Pete Buttigieg are based on, it's getting to a point now where you're just doing public relations. Yes, he's gay. Yes, brave that he's a gay man. He experiences hate. Sure. Is that a qualification or a calling card to be president? Is that the only thing these outlets should be focusing on? I mean, the New York Times is writing puff pieces for him. The Associated Press is writing puff pieces. A serious-minded candidate. A serious-minded kid. Pete Buttigieg aimed high early. Oh, what a cute little photo the campaign sent them. Oh my God. Gorgeous. It was a running joke in his AP U.S. history class. The smartest kid in the class, language whiz and devotee of John F. Kennedy, used his usual last name in his eventual run for president of the United States, or would he have a better shot of winning with voters of the future if he went by Montgomery, his middle name? Oh my Lord. This is why the Associated Press has won so many Pulitzer Prizes. I mean, and by the way, just so you know, if John F. Kennedy was his role model, John F. Kennedy called for universal health care before he was killed. You know, if anyone cares about facts, JFK called for universal health care. But, you know, we don't need to get into the details or anything. It's just amazing. It's just amazing. The sheer propaganda going on for Pete Buttigieg. And it's all part of the same exact nexus that I've been reporting on today. From MSNBC relitigating RussiaGate to Chris Matthews, Bernie, be careful calling the country corrupt. To, shockingly, progressive outlets kind of like trying to throw Elizabeth Warren some cred as a movement politician that facts don't back up. There's zero questions, by the way, to Pete Buttigieg on the fact that he was I believe I'm pronouncing it right, McKinsey candidate, a McKinsey consultant for years. Pete says he cannot talk about it because of his non-disclosure, but he wants to talk about it. He just can't talk about it. His time as a McKinsey consultant. And this is why I got, frankly, a little ticked off at you, Bernie. I got pissed off at Bernie the other night. Some people didn't like my thoughts, but Bernie let Mayor Pee Wee Herman there just say whatever he wanted. Didn't go after him on his ridiculous Medicare for All Who Want It plan, which is not a thing. You can't have Medicare for all who want it if you also have duplicative coverage. Jen, please explain Operation Northwoods in the super chat. Bernie didn't go after Buttigieg. Bernie didn't go after Biden. Bernie barely said anything to Warren. Yes, he's rising in the polls, but Bernie needs to start picking off some Biden voters, moving them over to Bernie voters. Bernie needs to start picking off some Warren voters, moving them over to Bernie voters. I don't know if he's going to pick off Buttigieg voters, but he definitely needs to knock Mayor Pete down a notch, because Mayor Pete is essentially running under Obamaism. Throw out some grandiose, hoity-toity language. My generation, this is how these people in Washington talk. You are of Washington. You don't need to physically be a member of Washington. You don't have to live there to just be another tall glass of nothing. So, Benny, good place for Jordan to read my super chat. All right, what was your super chat? Did I miss it? James Donahoe, $5 in the super chat. Yeah, saying Warren is progressive because of the CFB 10 years ago is like saying Howard Dean is progressive because he wasn't back in 2004. James, don't put words into my mouth. I didn't say that makes her progressive. I said she deserves credit for the CFB. We can give credit where credit is due, but I don't think that makes her a progressive. No. Benny, I don't see your super chat. It must have been too long ago. So just write your comment and I'll read it. Write your comment again and I'll read it. So what's amazing to me about what's going on with this man, he basically is in the political witness protection program. He's not being challenged at all during these debates. By the moderators, he's not being challenged. By the candidates, he's not being challenged. Kamala Harris had a great opening to challenge him and chose not to, frankly, because she has some of the same donors as Pete, and she knew if she would have punched him in the nose, her donors wouldn't like it. That's why she didn't go after him. And the media won't say that because they don't want to speak the truth. Welcome, new Status Coup member Carmen. Welcome to the Media Revolution, now at 748. 748 Status Coup members. Can we get another 2? Can we get another 2 members to get to 750? I think it's possible. I think it's possible. Let's go, baby. Let's go. Oh, you're right. I should. Woo. Thank you, Carmen. Thank you, Carmen. I'll send you the bill when I have to go to the doctor for strep throat. No, I'm kidding. I'll be fine. But we're now at 748. 748 Status Coup members. I think we can do it. I want more than 2, but first we got to get to 2. Remember, all of you signing up, you're going to get the link to join our members call tomorrow. statuscoup.com/join. Join us for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Makes a big difference. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Welcome, Carmen. We love you. So, this Mayor Pete is in the political witness protection program because, too loud, I'm grumpy. I'll try to lower it. Sorry. Donate to stop Jordan from doing that again. Sorry. So, does the kazoo tickle my nose? A little bit. A little bit. So, he's not getting challenged by the moderators. He's not getting challenged by the candidates. Puff pieces in the Associated Press about, oh my God, his biggest concern as a child was whether he's going to run for president as Buttigieg or his middle name Montgomery. Oh my God, those tough decisions one has to make as a child. Which last name to use when you run for president? Meanwhile, Status Coup has been doing the reporting the corporate media refuses to do on the fact that Mayor Pete, who wants to run the military, wants to run a country of 330 million people, has not ensured daytime shelter for the homeless in South Bend, Indiana, as winter is basically here. It is winter conditions in South Bend, Indiana already. If you live in the Midwest, you know what I'm talking about. Daytime shelter for the homeless, not a thing. The library that was shelter for the homeless in South Bend, Indiana is under construction. The homeless are left without shelter. Nobody wants to cover that. Oh, what he actually did as a mayor? Don't bore me with that stuff, Status Coup. His horrible relationship and tensions with African Americans in South Bend, Indiana. Oh, don't bore me with that. The fact that his campaign to try and come up with a reason to justify or rationalize the fact that he is at 0% among black voters nationwide. 0%. They're saying he's at 0% because older black people don't like that he's a homosexual. I'm not going to hetero-splain. There's mansplaining and there's white-splaining. I'm not going to hetero-splain. But, yeah, of course. I mean, black people, there's black people that are homophobic. There's white people that are homophobic. There are. But I don't think the fact that he's gay is why he's at 0% among black people. I think, for starters, who the fuck knows who Pete Buttigieg is in South Carolina? I could tell you in 2016, they didn't know. They didn't know who Bernie was down in South Carolina. So they're trying to push this stuff out to basically rationalize and make it less embarrassing that he's at 0%. Mad about Shelley. Love you, Jordan, but who doesn't learn how to use a kazoo during childhood? Haha, too funny. Yeah, nobody taught me about the ways of the kazoo. So I'm glad I'm learning now. Apple taters. I'll gay spain for you. Pete is a fascist. Wrap up in a rainbow flag. Ooh, I like that. It's almost alliteration. A fascist wrapped up in a rainbow flag. So, this is unbelievable. And what's truly unbelievable to me about this, honestly, and again, that's why today's theme has been a little bit more heavy criticizing the corporate media than I normally. I mean, I criticize the corporate media like always, but I've been doing it basically for 2 hours now. That it shows you, and Jen and I are actually working on a story, a major story that if you join our members call tomorrow, you might get some hints about. Hint, hint. Join us, statuscoup.com/join, become a member for as low as $5 a month. But Jen and I were talking yesterday because Jen and I have been day by day finding insane corruption in this story. The more we look at emails, the more we look at documents, we find things that were literally out in the open for many years in terms of this story that we're covering, that frankly, other media outlets had access to this information. Other media outlets most likely saw this information and just chose not to report it for reasons that defy journalistic common sense. And you'll know what we're talking about when we break the story. So, to me, this is Pete Buttigieg's rise is more a just total damnation of the media in this country. This man is a complete empty vessel. I don't care if he's gay. I don't care if he's straight. I don't care if he doesn't know what he is. On politics, he is neoliberal. On politics, he's worse than neoliberal. He is whatever the hell he has to be to get elected. 2010, let me go speak to the Tea Party. Now, I'm the representative of the new generation. You talk to people in South Bend, Indiana. This man has been an absentee mayor basically since 2016/2017 when he began trying to get out of being mayor of South Bend, because remember, he ran for DNC chair in 2017. People said, I haven't seen him in South Bend in weeks. He pretends during the debate when Tulsi Gabbard goes after him, I never said I would send troops to Mexico. All you have to do is Google it. He absolutely did say that. It's just truly unbelievable. Whoa! Whoa! Hold on. We just got 3 new Status Coup members. Welcome to the party, Martha. Welcome to the media revolution, Yannick. Welcome to the revolution, Kathy. Oh my Lord. 751. 751 Status Coup members. That is a gain of 9 so far today. 9 Status Coup members. I'm in the mood now. I got to put on my Status Coup hat. Knit for me by Annalise. 751. 751 Status Coup members. All of you, look forward. I hope you could join our members call tomorrow. 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. Statuscoup.com/join. I know Jen's going to be smiling as bright as that. I will be as serious. No, I'll be smiling too. Join us. Can we get to 755? I think we can. Welcome, welcome. New members. So, honestly, have Hey, by the way, if all I had to do to get you to sign up was figure out how to work this, why didn't you tell me? I would have figured this out weeks ago. Henry, why didn't you send me directions, damn it?
He instructed me how to use it.
Oh, he instructed you? So, oh man, I'm in a good mood. So, what's just incredible about all this? Again, this is not at all about me. It's not about status quo. But all it would honestly take is one journalist who just doesn't give a damn, one journalist who doesn't work for Bloomberg or CNN, one journalist that, dare I say, is funded by the people, to go to Cover Pete, ask him some pretty simple questions like, hey, Mayor Pete, can you answer why there's no daytime shelter for the homeless in South Bend, Indiana? Mayor Pete, can you answer why the white officer that murdered a black man in South Bend, Indiana, whose body camera just went out coincidentally, has not been fired? Can you answer why a citizen had to put in a Freedom of Information Act for your body cam policy in South Bend, Indiana? And the response she got was, we don't have a body cam policy in South Bend, Indiana. Can you answer for how you are part of the new generation when, other than Joe Biden, you have taken more money from Wall Street finance people, oil executives, and pharmaceutical executives? Is that part of the new generation, or is that the old generation? I mean, this is some simple questions. It doesn't take a profile in courage to ask them. It doesn't take anyone brilliant to ask them. But they're not asked to this man, and I don't understand why. And I'm telling you right now, it would be a monstrosity if this man won the Iowa caucus. Obviously, the Iowa caucus is not, it's not going to determine who wins the nomination, but it certainly determines the narrative. It certainly determines the narrative. And if this weasel, who has no qualifications to be president, honestly, I don't even know if he would win re-election if his term is up. I don't even know if he would win re-election if he ran again in South Bend. He's a dime a dozen gentrifying mayor. He has gentrified South Bend, Indiana, made it beautiful for 10 blocks, and left the rest of the city to rot. That's not exactly unique. That's the same old economic terrorism we're seeing everywhere. Jen, next time try to hum a song instead of just blaring it. Let's be careful with the requests here. If I try to hum a song, I might have a stroke on air. I gotta preserve my vocal cords here. So, all I gotta say is I'm just chomping at the bit. I really am. I'm just chomping at the bit. And I'm going abroad. I'm going out of the country after Thanksgiving for a few days. But when I get back, God willing, we're going to hire a new camera person very soon. Even if we don't, I might just drive up to New Hampshire myself. I have the equipment to go live myself. And it might not look as pretty as some other channels, but we got to get some questions into these people and get these videos to circulate a little bit, because this is getting ridiculous. It's truly getting ridiculous. Just the complete whitewashing that is being allowed for these candidates. I mean, these candidates, yeah, okay, he served in the military, God bless, we appreciate it. Thank you for your service. That doesn't make you qualified. Very nice, not belittling that, a gay man is being taken seriously. That's great. Not trying to minimize that, but that's not a qualification to be president. Vanya, would you lead an army of status quo to the White House and burn it down? Anya, I believe we need a coup d'etat of the status quo, but I do not endorse burning down any buildings. I do endorse a march to the White House. I also endorse a march outside MSNBC. I also endorse a march outside of the DNC, outside of CNN, outside of the Pentagon, but please do not burn anything down. You do not have my approval for that. Christopher, whatever happened to TYT politics, Jordan? No comment on that one. Whew. Tell you, you build something and then other people just... Yeah, I'll leave it at that. So, I think the theme of today, the media is creating the candidates they want, the media is creating the narratives they want, and the media, frankly, I think they're going to do whatever humanly possible to make sure Bernie Sanders does not win Iowa. If Bernie Sanders is leading in Iowa, I think the media will try and prop up some story. I think the media will prop up some story. Benny Ford, just write your comment here. I'm looking right now. I'll read it if I miss your super chat. I think the media is going to do whatever they can to make sure Bernie Sanders does not win Iowa or New Hampshire. Whether they got to make up facts, whether they have to call the election for somebody else before all the votes are tallied. And that's why I don't believe it's smart to wait. I don't believe it's smart. There is enough. This is not just propaganda, folks. This is basically corporate-run disinformation. The quote-unquote Russian disinformation campaign has not even close to the impact of what MSNBC and all these outlets are doing. And that is why a no-name mayor with no qualifications is leading in many polls in Iowa. That is why, let's just call it what it is. Elizabeth Warren's rise was helped by tens of millions of dollars in free airtime. Pete Buttigieg has been benefited by more than tens of millions in free airtime. And I get the Bernie campaign, they're working on expanding the electorate, organizing, bringing out new voters, this and that. That's fine, but that doesn't mean they're not going to try and rig it. I saw what they did on the ground covering it. It's not like the DNC, just because they're a little smarter this time, they're not putting it in writing, they're not putting their corruption in writing in email, doesn't mean they're not trying right now to stop Bernie Sanders. Look what they're doing to Tulsi Gabbard. I don't think Tulsi Gabbard would win the nomination in a fair fight, but I think she'd be doing a lot better because, shocker, ending regime change, or, you know, Joy Reid says the term ending regime change is somehow Russian coined. Tulsi Gabbard has been saying that for 5 to 6 years. And ending regime change, worse, Noam Chomsky has been saying that for 25, 30 years. Stop ascribing to Russia progressive movements in this country. Zingaroo, $5. Status quo gives me the life I can't have due to working full-time and school full-time. Thank you, Zingaroo. We're glad to give you whatever joy and information and entertainment that we can. And your story is like many others. There's a lot of people working full-time, another part-time job, and going to school. So thank you for the super chat. So that's all I got. That's all I got today. I hope this has entertained you. Before we end, I want to answer some questions, comments, concerns. Again, tomorrow night, we got our members call. So 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. We have our members only call. So join us as a member today or tomorrow, whatever, and you'll get the link to the video call. It's a lot of fun. It's pretty casual. We open with a little state of the coup where we give you some updates that we don't generally give on YouTube, but we give for members. And then we kind of just go lightning round into your questions and comments. For those of you concerned, you don't have to be on video if you don't want to. There's a button that you can mute your camera on your computer or phone. So no problem if you don't want to be on video, but if you do want to be on video, you can. And it should be a lot of fun. And as much as Jen will allow me to say, we will be able to give you not too much, but a little bit. I think we can give you as far as a major story we are working on. So sign up. That is outdated. We're now at 751. Can we round out? Can we get to 752 to make it a solid 10 new members today? Let's do it. Statuscoup.com/join. Statuscoup.com/join. And if you missed it, in the beginning of the live stream, Also, we are getting in the Black Friday game. So definitely from today to Saturday, you could go to Status Coup's store, enter in the promo code on anything you want to buy, including this wonderful Status Coup hoodie, which I can't wait. Mine's in the mail. Enter in the promo code. That would be Coup Friday. That's Coup Friday. And you'll get 20% off anything in our store. And if you're not familiar, check out the Status Coup store by going to statuscoup.com and just click on store. And that will bring you to our store. We got stuff, warm weather stuff. We got cold weather stuff. A lot of other cool stuff. We want to see more people rocking Coup gear. So keep it coming. Definitely check it out if you want to not just get, give us some extra support, but get your own gear. So, what do you want to talk about? Let's go. We'll do another 15 minutes. Yes, I saw Bloomberg announced. You know what's really funny about Bloomberg announcing to me? Jen sent me this. As soon as Bloomberg announced, two of his top people at Bloomberg News, because obviously he has his own news outlet, just announced they're joining his campaign. And they were from Bloomberg's opinion section. So, on the theme of just corrupt propaganda media, Bloomberg's top opinion editors are just joining his campaign. So we could clearly see how neutral they were at Bloomberg News. And then, adding insult to mental injury, Bloomberg, the news side, claims, well, we're not going to investigate Michael Bloomberg. You can't exactly investigate your boss and keep your job. But we're not going to investigate Michael Bloomberg, but we will cover it if other outlets do any investigations of Michael Bloomberg. I'm sorry. Because, by the way, Bloomberg, I could tell you, pays one of the better salaries in the news business. Most outlets pay shit. Bloomberg pays pretty damn good, considering they have a billionaire that owns it. You're telling me that we're supposed to expect Bloomberg News to cover, if the New York Times breaks a story on Michael Bloomberg showing whatever, corruption or greed or whatever, we're supposed to believe that Bloomberg News is going to cover that story or accurately add to that story? If you believe that, then I look forward to you supporting me in the bodybuilding competition next week that I'm not in. So it just shows you more of the ridiculousness. I don't know what the hell is in Michael Bloomberg's head. Maybe he's looking at what we saw in that debate, that Joe Biden is clearly not completely there anymore. Maybe he thinks that Joe Biden is one or two debates more from a total combustion, that the stumbling and not being able to complete sentences, losing his train of thought is going to get so bad that people are going to get buyer's remorse, and then they'll jump from one servant to the oligarchy to the actual oligarchy, and just make that seamless transition from Biden, who's a servant for the oligarchy, to Bloomberg, who's just is the oligarchy. I think he's going to be sorely disappointed, because there is not some jonesing. Susan, I know, where's Jordan's exercise video he promised? Here's the deal, Susan. I am going to give you that exercise video because I did promise it. Here's the problem, though. I kind of pulled my hamstring earlier this week, and my girlfriend was like, when do you want me to shoot the exercise video? Because you told everybody that you were going to do the exercise video once you met the GoFundMe. But I pulled my hamstring, so I'm kind of heating and icing my hamstring because I don't want to make my hamstring worse. So I hope that you believe me when I say you will get that exercise video, but I got to wait till my hamstring gets a little unpulled. But you will get the exercise video. Don't worry. I'm a man of my word. All right. What else do we got here? All I got to say about Bloomberg, I don't care. Honestly, Bloomberg might be a good thing because he's doing all these. I think he's throwing in $30 million in negative ad campaigns against Trump. Tell you the truth, that could be a good thing, but it also could be a bad thing. Because it's kind of like the more you do something, the more you say don't do something, it makes people want to do it. So the more crazy, carpet bagging ads, how terrible Trump is, the more it will make his supporters be like, this is too much. I'm sticking with Trump. So we'll see. We'll see. But I'm not so worried about Michael Bloomberg, to tell you the truth. I'm not that worried. So, what else do we got here? Now remember, folks, you can still sign up as a member. We are at 751 Status Coup members. So we'd love to have more of you sign up before I sign off. Keep it coming if you can. Statuscoup.com/join. Become a member and join our call tomorrow night for members. Status Coup. Where do you get unbiased news and exercise tips? Well, I go to physical therapies because I had back surgery this year. So I get my exercise tips from physical therapy. Unbiased news, there's no such thing as unbiased news. I got news for you. That's not a thing. Although the corporate media tries to pretend that's a thing, it's not a thing. Where do I get my unbiased or my news? I pick up a lot of things just surfing Twitter, to be honest, because obviously there's just a mishmash of articles sent out on Twitter. I like Matt Taibbi a lot. I like The Gray Zone a lot with Max Blumenthal and Ben Norton. I like The Intercept quite a lot. I do tend to read some local news outlets. Not because I think they're doing like crazy heroic journalism, but you tend to see some stories that are not covered in the national media. And then when I see those local news stories, it's usually written as press releases for, the state governments. But then I reach out to activists in the communities and get what's actually going on. So, I do read like the Flint Journal, the Detroit Free Press, so I stay on top of what's going on in Flint. I tend to read, Philadelphia Inquirer, the Baltimore Sun on occasion, Los Angeles Times, things like that. I tend, not always, but I do try to listen to Democracy Now! When I can. I do like Democracy Now!, even though I think they've kind of bought some of this RussiaGate Kool-Aid. I like Aaron Mate. Cy Hirsch, I like a lot. Cy Hirsch. Is that his name? Cy Hirsch? Or is it? Oh, Seymour Hirsch is a hero of mine. Love Charlie LaDuff. Charlie LaDuff out of Detroit is a real rabble-rouser. One of the few investigative journalists we have left in America. That's why he's been blackballed pretty much from every Michigan outlet. He's done some great reporting on basically the demolition of Detroit, the Flint water crisis. He did a pretty aggressive interview with former Michigan Governor Rick Snyder as far as the Flint water crisis. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's who I respect. Jordan, you need to dress like Richard Simmons for your exercise video. I don't want to scare you. I mean, that would, I don't know if that would be so hot. Nothing's going to change until we take action. Every progressive and Bernie supporter should put pressure on the corrupt DNC, MSM, and establishment. We have the duty to do that. Yeah, I agree. That's why I've been talking about it. I think it's time to protest these networks. Brian Frederick, thoughts on Crystal Ball? I really like Crystal Ball. It's like a double-edged sword because I really like Crystal Ball and her partner Sagar. No, how do you pronounce his name? I keep saying it wrong. Crystal Ball and Sagar. But I'm kind of worried about them because, like, is the Hill going to keep letting them speak truth on the internet before they, are like, wait, no. They're a little, yeah, we like the audience and they're growing and they have this big audience, but, like, we don't want this progressive stuff. Hard Lens Media, I do not like. I'll leave it at that, but I'm not a fan. Jacobin I like, yes, I do. Hard Lens Media kind of smeared me 2 years ago and did like really, really shoddy reporting on me. And it was just like, they just put out a lot of stuff that was just complete bullshit. Like not at all fact-based. When I reached out to them and was like, I understand you want to cover things going on with me, but like you're putting out stuff that is just provably false and they never corrected it. So I have a problem with that. So check out Bernie's stream from today at 5603 for answers on the media. Also, Crystal just destroyed Nira on Twitter. Always a fan of that. I love Chris Hedges, but I got to be honest with you. I've been reaching out to Chris Hedges for 6 months now for an interview. He says yes. Then he tells me, I'm on vacation. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. Then I see him on Rolling Stones interview and The Hills. So, I think he's kind of spurning me, to be honest with you. And just tell me no if you don't want to do an interview. I don't know what to tell you. Oh, of course. I totally forgot. Greg Palast, who I've interviewed, I love. Another one of the few investigative reporters we have left in this country. Abby Martin is terrific. So there are definitely some great people out there. Baby Gerald, $5. For news, check out nakedcapitalism.com. They aggregate headlines once a day at 7 a.m. and feature a civilized and moderated chat. Big ups, Jordan. Good. Thank you. I have seen them before, and I'll have to check them out again.
Chapo Trap House?
Oh, I do like Chapo Trap House, but I'm mad that they get it. What do they get, Jen? Like $143,000 a month on Patreon? Chapo Trap House? Yeah, I'm a big fan, but I sometimes wonder, how does Chapo Trap House make this money, and where just knocking on doors in communities no one's covering and doing all this hard, laborious work, and but hey, we're happy for them. Would love to go on Chapo before. Rebecca, I talked about this last week. I'm not going to get into what happened, but just didn't work out. I'm just going to leave it at that. Status Coup, we try to be transparent as possible, but there are some things that is just not appropriate to talk about publicly. So all I'll say is we're looking for a new camera person. We wish him well. And yeah, that's all I could say. Nothing more I'm going to say about that, but we're looking for a new camera person / editor. So I need to listen to them. I disavow being a big fan of Chapo. I don't know why. I like Chapo. I just sometimes wonder, are we doing something wrong? Because these guys are basically just dicking around on a podcast. They're funny, but damn, $143,000 a month. What we could do with that if some of those people joined us as members. Spider, or you could be like HA and shoot a bunch of guns and change your beliefs 180. No thanks. Oh God, Puppet. I forgot Jimmy Dore. I mean, I don't get my news from Jimmy Dore, but I'm a big fan of Jimmy Dore and Lee Camp. I think Lee Camp is great, and that's the problem in America. If you're a truth teller like Lee Camp, who very well researched, really great show, entertaining, informative, you have nowhere to go. Lee Camp can't do Redacted Tonight on a major network. So, Jordan, you've listened to them like hardly never. I've listened to a few of their shows. I don't know what makes them problematic. You'd have to tell me more, but the shows I've listened to, I've found pretty entertaining. So, all right, couple more minutes. Questions, comments. Ron Pacone, Jamal Thomas, I do like. Kyle from Secular Talk, I do like. Mike from the Humanist Report, I like the Rational National. Ron Pacone and his sweet cat. Frack CNN, Frack MSNBC, Frack Fox. Michael, that's true. I don't have a ton of time to watch YouTube. Honestly, I haven't even had that much time to do my own show on YouTube. This story that Jen and I have been doing is it's a heavy lift. Jen could tell you. It is a heavy, heavy lift. This story we're working on. We've been working on it for at this point, a month and a half, 2 months. It's a heavy lift. I think you're going to be very proud when you see the finished product. I think you're going to be very, very proud to be a member. Oh, we just got another new member. Welcome to the Status Coup, Richard. Now at 752 Status Coup members. Whoa, 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 whoa. Welcome. You know what this reminds me of for you Jewish folk in the audience? It kind of reminds me of the shofar a little bit. You blow the shofar. What's that holiday? What do you blow the shofar? Is that Yom Kippur?
I have to Google it.
I hope Larry's not watching. It kind of reminds me of blowing the shofar. Welcome, welcome, 752. Hey, before this live stream, I said it's a stretch. We want to get to 1,000 members by the end of the year. Is it a big stretch now? We're at 752, so that is 248 members we got to do in a little over a month. I think we could do it.
Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur.
Oh, we blow the shofar on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Yes. And by the way, I've said it over and over, but if you don't know, if you become a member today, you'll join us on the members call tomorrow night. It's our monthly members call. It's a lot of fun. We do it through Zoom, so you'll get a link. 7:30 Eastern tomorrow night, 4:30 Pacific. Jen and I in the hizzy. And we'll talk about a lot of fun stuff, including, where is that? The Titanic that is approaching with this man as the nominee. Colin, if you're watching, let's throw Pete Buttigieg in that graphic too. Pete and Joe sitting in a tree in front of the... Oh, actually, no, I don't want to say that. Pete and Joe in the front of the Titanic. Oh, boy. I'm having too much fun. Too much fun. I wouldn't phrase it that way. Jen said Kim Iverson is a racist garbage person. All I'll say is I had to personally tweet something in response to Kim Iverson. I don't really know Kim Iverson that well, but I think she's put out stuff on Twitter that is highly, highly problematic and highly, highly offensive. I'm not big on getting into fights with other YouTube people, but I have a big problem with a white person who's semi-privileged saying, racism in America isn't that big of a deal. And racism isn't the biggest problem in America. Yeah, well, as somebody who sees the day-to-day effects of racism, not just the words out of Trump's mouth and his policies, but the day-to-day racism that exists just in our economic life, and of course social, from Flint to Detroit to East Chicago to Milwaukee to Cleveland to everywhere I've been. Yeah, I have a real problem with people living in California on the coast, talking about racism isn't a problem. So, Mitch, why Jordan, you don't say girlfriend's name? What are you talking about? She's been on the show. You want to come say hello? Come over.
What do I say? I'm on camera.
Your name?
Anat.
Come over here. Why are you so scared?
I'm more of a behind listening.
Anat.
Anat.
Anat is her name. She's a big member of the Coup Day Cavalry, right?
The community.
The community. Anat. Why don't I say her name? I don't have anything to hide. I just don't want to blow up her spot. A little.
I exist, and he's not paying me, and I'm real.
That's right. So, she's very supportive. Very supportive. So, anyway. Blah, 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 blah. Hi, Anat. Vote for Bernie. We just had a conversation about that because she's still a little confused, I'd say, politically. But we're working on it. I think she's going to vote for Bernie. I think she'll end up doing the right thing. So. So, you have to convince her to get off the Warren train? Come on, Jordan. Listen, human nature, you don't get anywhere telling somebody what to do. If somebody tells me what to do, I immediately want to do the other thing. What you do is you make your case, you do it in a convincing way, and then sometimes they come to see the light. So, I think that's what's happening here. So. All right. What else? I admire Tulsi. A lot of nice comments towards Anat. Thank you. Jordan, what are your thoughts on starting a YouTube union? I think that would be great because I think YouTube is out of control, frankly. I think YouTube, we're now 2 weeks away from YouTube, their new policy that goes into effect, which is to basically kick channels off that aren't, quote, commercially viable. I've talked about this before. To me, that is essentially a blank check for YouTube to just purge independent channels. It's funny to me that they're going to get rid of channels that are not, quote, commercially viable. Well, yeah, a lot of channels aren't, quote, commercially viable because you keep demonetizing every video they do. So they shouldn't phrase it commercially viable because that's not actually the thing. What they should do is just say not advertiser friendly, because that is all YouTube cares about anymore. They should say that are not advertiser friendly, because that's really what YouTube is talking about. Not exactly smart for me to say. I'm sure there's humans that watch YouTube, but that are monitoring channels. But yeah, to tell you the truth, I think it's beyond time YouTube has a union. YouTube, which by the way, we say YouTube, it's really Google. Google owns YouTube. Google has resisted dealing with a union. Google has resisted talking or making any accommodations or compromise with, I believe there is some form of a YouTube union. MSDNC is what my shirt says. The revolution will not be televised. And I said in the beginning of the broadcast, thank you for whoever sent me this, but I just don't know who sent it to me. So if you're watching and you sent it to me, email me your info so I could give you credit on the next call. Please make the call. I am on the West Coast and working 8 to 5 p.m. Well, the call's at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. So when you get off at when you get off at 5, we'll only be like 20 minutes or so into the call. So you could join once you get off of work at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific. So I lost my train of thought there. Any update on the spill in North Dakota? Yeah, I covered this the other day. It's much bigger than anyone knew of course, because all of these spills, they report them as like, oh, it didn't affect any water. It didn't affect, anything. Yada, yada, yada. And then it comes out like, oh, wow, it was hundreds of thousands of more gallons were leaked than before. And, oh, wow, it did affect water and animals and these kinds of things. It is the public comment time right now for the Dakota Access Pipeline expansion, so that's a good thing. This is, if you don't know, Dakota Access Pipeline, they're trying to expand it. They're trying to double the capacity from like 500,000 barrels of oil a day to 1.2 million. So it's the public comment time period. We know what this means, the public comments. Even when the comments are overwhelmingly against it, they do it anyway. We know that Keystone Pipeline just leaked 383,000 gallons. Didn't matter. They still are trying to expand to Keystone XL. It's obscene. Bernie just came out yesterday saying, he's said this before, but reiterating that he would shut down the Keystone Pipeline and the Keystone XL if elected president. So there's a lot on the line. I do not think Elizabeth Warren would shut down pipelines. No, no, no. All right, folks. That's all I got. We did about, I think, 3.5 hours or so. I'm a little sore here. I'll be back tomorrow, 5 o'clock Eastern time, hopefully with a little bit better of a setup. I do have someone come in to help me plug in a Ethernet connection, so we'll not be wireless. Again, 7:30 Eastern tomorrow is our members call. We hope you become a member before then. Sign up to become a member, statuscoup.com/join. That's statuscoup.com/join. You can become a member today for as low as $5 a month. We're at 752, so that we grew 10 today. So that's super, super exciting. Thank you for the members. And we will see you on the members call tomorrow. I'll be live at 5 tomorrow. So thank you. Enjoyed today. Keep signing up. And remember, most people are not lacking compassion in this country. Most people have no effing clue what in the Lord's name is happening all around us. Peace out.